Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a new product I just bought, give you an overview of it, not necessarily a full review because I haven't used it long enough to really give us a full verdict on it, but I just wanted to show it to you and give you my initial impressions. And it's the Tilta Follow Focus Mini. As far as I'm aware, this is a brand new product and I found it on B&H. So I bought it. It's about $100. I think it's 99 something. So $100 in the United States, which is really cheap for a follow focus. So this is a small unit. It comes with a case, which is kind of nice, I suppose. And you can see it fits in the case here. It comes with, so this is the follow focus itself. It comes with a 15mm rod, so you don't need to buy extra 15mm rods if you don't want to, if the short one is going to do the job for you. It comes with that. And it has a couple of Allen wrenches that fit into one end of the rod. And then lastly in here is a little adapter that, if you have the right camera cage, you potentially don't need to bother with a base plate, because this will attach directly to the cage and you can fit the rod in here and you won't need all of this. However, the way this works is it has to attach to the front of the cage somehow. And as you can see, there's nowhere to mount it. I did notice that the Tilta cages that support the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K do have 1/4-20 mounting holes on the front of this little piece. So you could use this if you have that cage. You know, there might be other cages out there that have mounting 1/4-20s on the front edge, but I don't have that. So unfortunately, this isn't going to work. So I do need a base plate. Additionally, it has hard stops, which come installed on the focus wheel. So these slot into this in this groove here. So what these do is allow you to, if you're shooting a scene where you know where your focus points are going to be, you can adjust these to align with those two predetermined focus points. And then that way you don't have to watch your monitor to see when you're on focus, those hard stops are going to hit when they get to that point, and it'll just stop. However, there's a problem with these. So this is mostly designed to work with photo lenses, which tend to have short focus throws. So from minimum to infinity focus, it doesn't have a super long turn. Unlike these Voigtlander lenses, which do have a really long 270 degree rotation. So with these lenses, there's not enough rotation with these installed to go from one end to the other. They're going to hit at some point along the travel and prevent you from going from minimum to infinity. That would be my first major problem or warning about this unit, is if you are going to use cinema lenses or even these are photo lenses, but they just have long throws, and you want the hard stops, then it's not going to work for you. I would recommend looking at another unit. A lot of follow focuses that do have hard stops will have a separate disc where the hard stops reside, that's independent of this disc. So you can use them if you need them and not use them if you don't need them. Some of them I think you can just like kind of remove from a little housing and then put them in. They work different ways, but this one is not like the most adaptable way. You can install them and uninstall them as needed. It's just a little bit of a process. So using one of these supplied Allen keys, you can actually take this whole wheel apart, and you can take this out, and then you actually have to take this metal disc out too, which has Phillips screws in it. So you're going to need a separate Phillips screwdriver. So take this disc out, and then this little lip here will slide under the disc. That's why you needed to take the disc out. And then these will just clip onto this ring, and then you can put the disc back on top, and you can see how they fit there. They are removable, obviously, but that takes a lot of effort. And there's another problem with these that I have, in that they seem to introduce a little bit of friction when you're rotating the focus wheel. There's kind of a grinding noise and then a little bit of resistance as you're turning the wheel, which is not super great. And I don't know if you can hear this. There's a little bit of grinding noise there, which is no bueno. A, the sound could get in your shot, and B, it's just not as smooth as it should be. So I don't like them, and I am just going to remove them. Not only do I not like them, but they just don't work with the lenses that I use. So build quality. Like I mentioned before, there's a huge range in price for follow focus systems. This one's $100, and you could spend thousands of dollars on one. The difference in functionality, they're all the same. You might spend thousands of dollars on one that doesn't have hard stops at all, but the build quality is just intense. So this whole housing here is plastic, and this housing is plastic, and you can hear it's kind of hollow sounding, not the most, it's not the thickest sounding plastic in the world. And you can see some of like the flashing where like the mold came together and there's a little bit of plastic piece left over in here. So that's where they cut corners. This part here where the gear is and the housing of the gear and the mounting mechanism, this is all metal. So that's better, I would say. And the point where the gear meets the wheel is metal too. So really the parts that matter, that function, as opposed to just the housing, I'll feel pretty solid. Well, it feels okay. No complaints necessarily with that. So another point of adjustment that you have with this thing, you can see where it says A to B in exchange. You can swap sides of this gear, so you can mount it over here, and there's just a hand tightened locking nut, which was really tight when I first tried to loosen it. I wasn't sure if I would be able to loosen it with my hand or if I would need a pair of pliers or something, but if you give it enough force with your hand, you should be able to loosen it and swap sides. So depending on the lens that you have, you can see these Voigtlander lenses have the focus ring closest to the body. If they were out here, it just depends on the lens, right? Also, you could swap and put it on the right side if you wanted it on the right side, and you just have that adjustability. Another thing is Tilta on their product page and say that they're gonna have different gears available, so gears with different pitches. One more thing is the marking disc is removable. So it's got 3 magnets on here which align with 3 magnets on this disc, and then there's a little notch that has to line up with the little metal piece here. And then it just snaps in. So even without these hard stops, you can still mark on here where your predetermined focus points are. However, you're gonna have to look at it. So anyway, there's a compromise there. Okay, so just slide this on to the 15mm rod, line it up with the focus gear on your lens, and tighten this piece down. And there is a little bit of wiggle room to align this with your lens at different angles. So get it positioned the best way. And then also if you had a wider lens, there is also some room to come out away from the lens. But this still does have, that's probably a good inch maybe that I still have. So if there's a much bigger lens, you could still potentially fit this follow focus on it. So now with these little guys removed, I feel like it's much smoother and there's not any of that resistance and rattling around, obviously. And in terms of like the most important part of one of these, of a follow focus, is that there's no slack or there's no play in the movement. So when you turn the wheel, the gear turns and the lens turns. There's not any like delay or, yeah, in the movement. So that's what's most important, and that's where this follow focus does a pretty good job as far as I can tell. There's also you could fit a whip in here, which extends out and allows you to get away from this, but it doesn't come with a whip. But yeah, so that's one thing, you can fit a whip in here if that's something that you need. So there was two things that I forgot to mention. Completely neglected to mention the fact that it comes with an adjustable focus gear to fit on your photo lenses that don't have gears on them. But it does come with this, which is worth mentioning, so you can, you know, get off and running without having to buy focus gears for your non-cinema lenses. And one last thing to mention is that if you do swap the gear from one side to the other, it won't fit in the case anymore. So there we go. Nope. Yeah. You have to put it on the one side, which is kind of stupid. So that's pretty much everything I needed to say about the unit itself. Not necessarily a recommendation, or I'm not recommending it. It is what it is. If you need a follow focus and you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, this is an option for you, especially if you're using smaller cameras, smaller lenses, photo lenses. It'll be a good option. If you do want the hard stops, but you do have lenses like these Voigtlanders with a long focus throw, then it's not going to work for you. I would definitely recommend looking in a different direction. But overall, it seems like a pretty solid unit that's going to do what you need it to do.